Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My special guest today, Hayley and the Crushers. I like to do a little emphasis and pause on that. Hayley and the Crushers. My special guest joining me from Hayley and the Crushers is Hayley herself, Hayley Crusher Cain. She's the singer, songwriter, guitarist, the front woman of Hayley and the Crushers. Welcome back, Hayley. And we're coming in with what she drives, right? I always get the
So yeah, we were gonna
I
do She
love the
Drive.
song and I got to get the title. She drives. Yeah. Okay. So that's what we're listening to right now that you're enjoying. All right. So you caught the attention uh, of new wave icon Josie Cotton, 2021. She described you guys as the naked embodiment of power punk, pop punk. And for those who are just getting their first taste of punk, who is Josie Cotton in that world?
Josie Cotton. Well, I don't know if I'd put her in the punk rock world, but definitely in the new wave and 80s icon category. She is most known for the song Johnny Are You Queer, which was really big in Europe and was definitely a hit here as well. And her album Convertible Music, that is literally like, I mean, it's a classic at this point. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a danceable, amazing. And she hasn't stopped doing music. I mean, she's got so much new music, and you if you haven't checked her out recently, do go check her out.
Yeah, Kitten Robot Records. In fact, I've also got her. I grabbed her website, which is josiecotton.com. So in 2021, she signed you with her label, right?
Yes, and that was a huge, huge change for us to have somebody who not only believed in us and understood our quirkiness and celebrated our quirkiness as a quirky band, um, to come to she comes along with her producer Paul Rossler of the legendary punk band, LA punk band The Screamers, and Paul kind of comes with her. So to have both of these people that we respect so much and just
Mm-hmm.
to feel seen and to feel like they understood what we were going for and to understand our references, that we referenced a lot of old school music, was just really, really cool. So we kind of just became a weird little happy family. And Kitten Robot continues to add on very eclectic, interesting acts all the time. So there's tons of cool artists if you want to like go pop over there. For anyone that's listening, I mean, there's something for everyone, very much so.
What's your favorite personal story of Josie?
Oh my gosh. Well, I haven't spent a ton of time in person with her, but we did we did go to brunch, and we have been definitely at some shows together where she actually came to our show at the Viper Room, which was a legendary show. It was supposedly going to be one of the last Viper Room shows before it became in Hollywood, before it became like a mega high rise. Weirdly, the venue is still around, so I don't know what happened with that, but she came out for that one. And I think that was just a really legendary show. It was right before we moved to Detroit, and playing this amazing venue with the velvet red curtains that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that was going to happen. There's these wonderful velvet red curtains that come up, and to look out in the audience and to see, someone like Josie Cotton just right there cheering us on, and kind of wishing us like we had come into her world. And to like, we're like, oh, by the way, we're going to go to the East Coast now, is that cool? And she was,
Mm-hmm.
not only was she cool with it, but she was like, I'm going to cheer you on and be there in the crowd and support you. And like, I think that was a really special moment. But I want to hang out with her more, honestly. But she's so busy, she's always doing the coolest stuff, and I swear whenever I'm in LA, she's somewhere else, and vice versa. It's like the funniest thing.
Well, your paths will cross, I'm sure, and you can tell me your next favorite story.
Yeah,
Well, after
we
you
text a
sign,
lot.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
you communicate a lot.
Yes, we text.
Well, I was going to ask what did that approval feel like, but I think you answered that question. So after you guys were signed, you just all mixed together well. It was a good match made, musically and artistically, it sounds like. And then the year after you signed, you released Modern Adult Kicks, right?
Yes.
And there are a few heavy hitter producers that worked on that album. I was going to ask you if you could tell us about them.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Rosser was instrumental in really helping elevate our music from to put it into perspective, the album before that we had recorded in a warehouse in Oakland with also a pretty great producer who we really appreciate and really respect. But to go into the Kitten Robot studios in LA, where Paul Roessler's sister was in Black Flag for a while, and like that bass amp is just sitting there, like it's just no big deal. And you see all these posters on the walls from all these legendary LA punk shows from back in the day, when really punk rock was just starting. And like my big fascination in the punk world is LA punk, because LA punk was so multifaceted and there were so many different genres. Even like an Americana sort of band like the Blasters was melding with a band like the Germs at that time, which was a really chaotic and crazy band. And so working with Paul Roessler, who's of that generation and really one of the first punk rock producers who was really building that sound, with bands like 45 Grave and TSOL and stuff, that was really, really incredible. And just besides just being a fangirl about it and just kind of being like, oh, this is so exciting, he's a really sensitive person and he's very interested in what the song means, what are the lyrics. And this is something I'd never experienced before. I'd never experienced a producer that actually cared to that point. And that was, not only was it like really cool to like have somebody want to know and want to understand what these crazy crushers were doing, but he would also be like, hey, like I'm going to call you on your breathing weird when you're singing, try this. And it just really, the whole dream of a producer is somebody that cares. So somebody that cares, and you also really respect their background, their sensibilities. They have a wide breadth of musical knowledge. I mean, he's got a wide breadth. He plays keys incredibly well, and does great harmonies and all those little things that he added on the album. I mean, that stuff completely elevated our sound to a new level. And I'm never going to be that person that's like, oh, well, we're just the same band, but we had a little help. No, we had a lot of help with Paul Roessler. So he deserves some kudos.
Well, and then your next EP that you're releasing in September, if you're just joining us, it's called Unsubscribe from the Underground. It's going to be out on September 10th on Kitten Robot Records. And the new singles, Unsubscribe, we played at the beginning of the show, and Alleyways, we're playing here coming up in just a moment. Um, I've got so much to ask you about Unsubscribe and about the music business, but I don't think we have enough time to do that this time. um, so why did you guys move to Detroit? I've got so many questions about that too.
It's like, why? That's the $1,000,000 question. I think a part of it is 2020 COVID. It definitely shook some things loose for a lot of people. I'm sure you can relate. And we just wanted a new adventure. So that was number one. Living in the Central Coast of California, it's beautiful, but it's sleepy. It's kind of like a 1950s town untouched by time in that way, where it's like there's a bubblegum alley and there's a drive-in movie theater and there's surfing, and my husband's a big surfer. But there's not a lot of multicultural stuff happening, and there's not a lot of artists still in that city because of how crazy the prices got. All the artists got pushed out. So we were shopping for a community that was culturally diverse, had a lot going on, had a great vibrant music scene and art scene. And through touring in 2017, 18, and I think 19, all the way up till COVID, we were like, we're really digging the Midwest. Hospitable, really cool. And we saw Detroit, and we saw, wow, there's so much happening here, not only from the people that have been here forever, but also people like us coming in and saying like, hey, like I see there's room here. Like, can we all be part of this? And for the most part, it's been incredibly, really inclusive. And the music scene has really embraced us, even though we are like this exotic, import from California. So it's very different. So, it's a lot of things. And
It's an adventure. Do you feel like a pioneer?
It's an adventure. I do sometimes. Property prices. I mean, I have an e-bike now, so I just ride around Detroit. Like I was riding around Detroit all day before this interview, and I'll just stop and I'll just like look at like these old buildings that have been around forever and think, wow, there's no earthquakes here. This building just survived.
All I know about Detroit is from my favorite movie, True Romance. And I'm sure that's not what it's like these days. Okay, so I know you listen. Did you guys write this album on the road as you were traveling?
The EP?
Is that true? Yeah. Or did you write anything on the road?
We have notebooks and we have ideas that happen all the time, so it's kind of hard to say where things came from, honestly. But some of the stuff was recorded here after we kind of crash landed in Detroit. Some of the stuff had been in incubation since, COVID times. So it's been a mix of things, but I do think that the sensibility, like the sound of it's a little different because we did the vocals. We flew back to LA and did all the vocals with Paul and then Kitten Robot Studios, but we recorded the bulk of the music tracks in our lead guitarist basement in Detroit. And he's wonderful. He's really great at what he does, but it's not the same thing as, being in a really nice studio. So I think as a result, it does feel a little bit raw in that way. And I think it's cool. Like it kind of gives us a little step into not back, but like adjacent to modern adult kicks in the sense that modern adult kicks was a huge step up in terms of quality and polish. And to like, just play in this middle ground of like, really at its core, we are a garage band kind of,
Mhm.
like you come see us live, we're pretty aggressive, we're pretty loud, and there's going to be wonky things that happen, but it's, you know, that's kind of who we are. So I think this EP does sound a little bit like a little more how we sound live, which I think is fun. A little less frills, but like it feels really right and really real for right now. So
Yeah, you said I was going to save this for the next break, but since you brought that up, you said I'm going to quote you again because I know it's your favorite thing I do. You said
yes.
about the vibe of the EP, it's an ode to being true to yourself within any specific musical or social scene. Um, real, first, who is your true self? Who do you
Oh,
think? Who is your true self,
I
Hayley?
think it took a long time for me to realize that as a teenager, I was really rebellious. Like I said, I was a pretty bad girl. And I think it took a while for me to realize that I am more of an introvert than I thought I was, possibly.
Hmm.
um, I am someone who is intellectual and, reads and maybe has big feelings and is going to, try to stuff a lot into each song. And it's okay to be that person with the big feelings and all the words flying around in your head. So I'm a little bit more of I'm a more bookish nerd than I probably ever wanted to admit to. I would
The
say
bad girl, bookworm.
my husband is a anomaly. He's a surfer, but he owned a comic book store, and he's a nerd in his own way, but he's also this kind of cowboy. He was raised, in the mountains of Colorado. He's kind of a mountain man. Chews tobacco. It's like he's really the thing I'm very inspired by with him is that he really is exactly who he is in every situation. And for those of us that are more of a chameleon, like I'm a little bit more of a chameleon, it's like really refreshing. And as I get older, I'm embracing who I am more and like those unique things. And I think the music shows that. And I hope that authenticity shows through and that people can see like, that realness there.
And so you're being true to yourself right now, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm
And
trying.
you believe that the EP accomplished what you wanted to be true to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay, we're gonna take our last break here. I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna listen to on the way out. We're about to play the new single Alleyways, but we're gonna go out with Broken Window, and we'll be right back.